Hello, everybody. Carlos here. I missed you. We've been gone. We've been traveling, and oh wow, we've been having a good time. But we're back, and we're so happy to be back. Interesting. I don't know if you had a chance, but have you checked out Dave Chappelle's last special? Oh man, it is so good. And to me, the key point, you may miss it, don't miss it. The key point in that stand up act was a point where he talked about a specific community. That doesn't really matter. We're not here to get into community versus community, but he talked about a specific community and he talked about how they went about it all wrong. And then he said that that community might say, well, who are you? Who are you to tell us how to be? And then he said, I'll tell you exactly who I am. I'm the one that got off the bus. Got off the bus and I left $50 million on the bus and I walked. He draws a contrast from this community where they didn't get off the bus. He said they're doing things like, let's go to the Golden Globes and let's all wear a black a black outfit. This is a stark contrast. This is a stark contrast to what someone who has a modicum of freedom would do. And I am telling you that because Dave Chappelle, I believe he has multiple freedoms. One that I see is he has an intellectual freedom. Yeah, Dave Chappelle is a real deal, y'all. He's from his mother and father were learned. His grandfather was on the board of a college. So he's from a very learned background and he is very learned himself. So there's freedom that comes with knowledge, of course. There's also another freedom, there's financial freedom. And that's what we're here for. Dave Chappelle sits at almost $50 million in net worth. 50 million in net worth. Now, you may say, well, isn't this person or that person or this entertainer or that entertainer similarly positioned? You'd be surprised. But at any rate, I want to use that as a launching pad to ask you a question. Yeah, you, because that's what we're here. We're here after all to help you. And so I want to ask you, what's your net worth? Hello? Yeah, what's your net worth? And first of all, to answer the question, you have to know, well, what is net worth? I'm glad you asked. Net worth is you take all of your assets and then you take out all of your liabilities and then you're left with your net worth. Now, for in personal finances, your assets would be your cash, would be your investments, would be your property if you own your home, own some land, own some cattle, own machinery. All of that would be your assets. And then your liabilities. Now, what would be your liabilities for a family? Yeah, you guessed it. You guessed it. I know you knew what that one was. That would be, of course, your debt. And I would submit to you that for most of us, for many of us, particularly African Americans, who find ourselves sitting at anywhere from 0 to 1,700 median net worth. And if you're a single black woman, it's even worse because it's $5 net worth. We have some work to do, but we can do it. But we got to have a plan. We got to have a plan. I have what I call the flight plan, and there it is, right in front of you, right there above my head, right there. It's a flight plan. And let's go through. I'm just going to go through it at a high level, and then I'm going to affixate. I'm going to focus on the first part. High level flight plan. What? How do we get to financial freedom? Well, we get to financial freedom. First of all, we got to plan this flight. So I want to use this metaphor as if we're flying. We're flying into freedom. Come down, sweet chariot. Let me ride. All right. Got to plan the flight. So that's having a budget. You have to know particularly your expenses. Know you're going to know your income, but you got to know your expenses. It's so important. More on that. Then you got to insure your flight. Secondly, got to insure your flight. You got to minimize all your losses in case of peril. So you got to have health insurance and you got to have life insurance. And when I say life insurance, term life insurance. I don't care what else they're calling whole life. They come up with new names for it every day. Term life insurance. Hello? Because all that other stuff is dangerous. So we want to go with term life insurance. Thirdly, I want you to, again, we're on the flight. So the first thing you got to do is look around. You remember, you got to look around and you got to identify your emergency exits, right? Before you can take off, you got to at least know where your emergency exits are. And how we're going to do that financially is got to create an exit. So we're going to save up $1,000 into a savings account. Not worrying about investing right now. Just $1,000 in case something happens and you need to get the cash quickly. Save up $1,000, put it into an easily accessible savings account. That's third. Fourth, now it's time to launch our investments. Got a little bit of uh, emergency fund set up, $1,000. Started our plan, which is our budget, and we've gotten us some life insurance and health insurance. Now we can talk about some investments, but we're not going to go full hilt into investments yet. At least a minimum of 4%, depending where you are financially. But at least let's do 4%. That depending part we'll talk about. We'll come back, wrap around, and we'll go into that. That's what we're going to talk about today. Fifth, I just want to give you the overview. Fifth thing in our financial freedom flight path. You got to provide for ground support. You're about to leave family and friends behind on this flight. Or hopefully you're telling them, taking them along with you. But for those who are left behind, we need to leave some communication. What are our wishes? Are you keeping up with me with this flight motif that we're doing? That's Zion calling. Don't get confused. We're still talking about financial freedom, and we're just using as if we're getting on a plane. Where's my plane? Is it right? Yeah, you see my plane up there. Woo! We're getting on a plane and we're just flying to freedom. So we've provided for our ground support by having a will or a trust. The easiest would be a will. Trust can come later, but at least get you a will. And when we're talking about a will, everything is in levels. Ideally, for a will, you would sit down with a lawyer and draft a will. Secondly, there are some online services that you can use to do a will. Thirdly, eh, eh, thirdly, you can scribble something down on a piece of paper, go have it notarized. Fourthly, you can just videotape your wishes. Do something as far as this will thing. I'm serious, y'all. Please do something. Don't wait. Have something, have something as far as what your wishes are in case of your untimely death. Please do that. Next, uh, sixth thing is you gotta adjust for your optimal weight. we're on this flight. Follow me here. To take off and to fly as far as you can, you have to have as little weight as possible. What is weight financially? Yeah, weight is that debt. So let's start working on the debt. And there's different ways. We'll get into it. Debt snowball. There's different ways. Debt avalanche. There's all kind of ways to handle that. Just doing an overview today. Got to get rid of some of this weight. So we're going to get rid of all of our debt except for if you have a mortgage. If you don't have a mortgage, fine. You'll get there even quicker. But if you do have a mortgage, just pay the mortgage. You know, the minimum that you can pay every month, and then let's work on getting rid of credit card and student loan debt. That's what I mean by getting rid of weight. Okay, that's 1 through 6. Now we come to 7. 7 is we need you to assure an exit during the flight. So the first time was making sure you know where the exits are in case something happens during takeoff. Now you want to make sure that you have an exit plan in case something happens during a flight. So this is a serious one. Or that's why it's so important to have that budget. That was the first thing, right? To plan your flight. I'm sure you know what your net income is. That's what ends up in the bank. I would have you take a look at that check stub more often, though. That's why you have to do this budget. How much are they taking out? How much are they taking out for IRS? How much are they taking out for Social Security? Does it make sense? Is it right? You need to know that's your money, so you need to know, and that's where a budget is going to help you. That's where that flight plan. You got to have a plan. And then on the expenses side, very important to know the expenses because now you're going to be able to, in this step 7, now you can calculate what the 6 months of expenses are. So it's not 6 months of income, it's 6 months of expenses. That's an important distinction. It's presuming that you have more income than you do expenses. If that's not the case, we have a remedy for that too. In future lessons, it's called getting a side business, but more on that later. Yep. Next is 8. Then you're gonna come back and you're gonna offload all dead weight. So first time you dealt with weight was over in 6, in step 6, but now you're going to plan step 8, and now you're going to get rid of all dead weight. So that's including your mortgage. Hey y'all, this is a process. I think it took us get rid of that mortgage. Well, we weren't always working the plan either, but it took us about 11 years to get rid of the mortgage. Now, I'm still very congratulatory for us. Woohoo! Reason being, a lot of people never pay off a mortgage ever in their life, and then others pay it off in 30 years. If you pay that mortgage off in 30 years, it is criminal how much in interest the banks get. We don't want that. We want you to get it. All right. More on that when we deal with that particular step. Each one of these steps, you all, we are going to have a training session just for these steps. So don't worry, we're going to do deep dive each one of them. Step 9, fly to freedom. Fly to freedom. Oh man, this is where you get a chance to come back. Now you've paid off your mortgage, you've paid off all your debt. Now you have extra money. So now you can go back and invest. You see why I said the first time I said only invest 4%? Because we had so much other work to do. And you just can't do everything financially all at once. So now that you don't have any more debt and you don't have any more mortgage, now you can go and and put extra money towards retirement, towards savings. What's that magic number? Well, it depends, but you should be looking at probably 40% or more. What does it depend on? I'll just give it to you now. It depends on what your fire number is. FIRE. That is your financial independence retire early number. FIRE. And that number is 25 times your expenses. Now you see why it's so important to have that those expenses calculated? It just keeps coming up. More on that later, but 25 times your expenses, that's your number. That's your financial independence retire early number. Okay? Then 10th, we arrive at our final destination. We have achieved financial freedom. Oh, it's so nice when we get freedom. All right. Let's go into, I want to deep dive the planning flight stage just a little bit more. After this particular overview, we're going to have Yvonne. She's going to come in and she's going to actually take you step by step on how to do a budget. But for right now, I just want to kind of, I want to impress upon you the importance of doing that step one, planning your flight. That's the budgetary step. First of all, we talked about it earlier. It's important to do this step because you got to know your expenses. Important to do this step too so you can know what your income is, your gross and your net. But it's vitally important for you to know your expenses. Okay? So that's why we're going to start doing the budget. There's some other things that I want to deal with. Let's see how good I'm able to do it. This is our financial flight path gauges. You know how when you're on a flight, you know how the pilot has all those gauges? Well, for financial matters, we need gauges too. So the first thing we need to know is where are we as far as our spending? That's what your budget is going to tell you. And I just want to look at big categories. First, how much are you giving? What's the percentage? How much are you saving? What's that percentage? How much are you spending towards debt? And then how much are you spending towards everything else? Call that your GSS percentage. Give, save, spend. If you're in a situation where you're in a nose diving, that's mean you're in crisis. You're about to crash. We're just not doing well financially. Don't give up. Be encouraged. Go back. That's why we did so much of the psychological parts early on. Calm your spirit. Listen to some of those videos where I just have nature sounds and things like that. We can do it. We can get there from here. But first of all, we have to take a sober look at where we are. And if your finances looks something like where you're not able to give to anybody's charity, you're not able to save anything, all you're doing is the money's coming in and the money's going out. It's going out towards debt and other spending. And you notice here that 70 and 40, that's more than 100%. That means you have more outgo than you have income. I understand. I've been there. It's not a good place to be. I don't want you to be there anymore. That's why we started Young, Wealthy, and Black Academy. Don't want you to be here. But if you are here, you just have to be real about it. Now, how do we get out of this situation? Well, we're gonna have to get some part-time jobs. You're gonna have to get more income. Yeah, part-time job. Gonna have to develop a business on the side, something to bring in more income, and simultaneously gonna have to deal with this spending. Gonna have to cut up those credit cards and use the debt snowball to start attacking that debt. You're going to have to curtail this spending. How do you do that? Typically, some of the largest and most ridiculous spending is on eating out. We can just stop that immediately. You can't stop it. You don't believe you can stop it? Of course you can. Of course you can. If you're eating out 5 days a week, slice it down to 2. Yeah, just do that. Pack your lunch, make a sandwich, and make it good. I mean, make it a good sandwich. Make it a good lunch. And we'll have programs on that too, about how to make really good food on the thrift. But anyway, as it stands here, we're gonna have to do something as far as our debt, and we're gonna have to do something as far as our other spending, and we're gonna have to do something as far as our income. Okay, you can do it. We're here to help. Put it down in the comment section if there's something that we forgot about that you can use some help on. I know of a site where they list 100 different side businesses that you can start and start gaining money. I know of people who are hiring. So anything like that, any help you need, let us know. But that's what's going to have to happen if you're in that nosedive. But don't give up. You can make it. Then what about the surviving stage, right? This is where you can see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Still kind of overspending. I put this on this giving category for a reason. I know that a lot of times those of the Christian faith will not have money to give and still give it anyway. You see, this is 100% is going to debt and other, and you can carve out maybe 5% for giving. Hey, listen, go talk to the leaders at that church, and if you want, I'm a leader at the church too. If you want me as minister, my minister los capacity, to talk to your leaders, I'd be happy to. The Bible says to give from your abundance. You don't have abundance. If your budget looks like this, you can't afford to give right now. Give as far as your time and give as far as your talent. But as far as your treasures, you can't afford it, dear heart. Same thing, same remedy. So this goes away. This and this gotta deal with getting more income in, just like we said in the nosediving. In the surviving category, we gotta deal with our debt. You have less of it, but still gotta deal with it. We have a spending problem. So we really gotta take a look at what are we spending things on and how can we curtail it. Again, we're gonna help you with that in the coming series. Next category, arriving. All right, we're getting there. Now, hey, at least it's adding up to 100% now. We're not over. We have enough income to handle our outgo. We have some debt, but not as much as we used to. We're moving right ahead, and we're able to start socking away more money in savings, and we're giving that 10%. Now, it's interesting you got this 10% going to debt. And you have 40% here in savings. Unless, so it depends on how much time, right? If this is debt that's gonna last for years and years, let me just say it like this. If this is debt that's gonna last more than 1 year, I would take this savings down. I would take this savings all the way down. All the way down to, if your employer is matching at 4% or something like that, take it all the way down to that 4%. Throw everything at this debt. Get rid of all of that debt. So I don't know if that's a mortgage, look at your finances. This could be a mortgage that's sitting there. This could be a student loan. Whatever it is, get rid of it as quickly as possible, and then come back, and you'll have so much more savings. you'll have so much room to save. The other thing that getting rid of that debt does, it liberates you. We're talking about freedom. This is all about freedom, you all. That debt is bondage. I don't care what anybody says. I've taken all the financial classes that most folks have taken. I understand. I know what arbitrage means, where they'll say, okay, well, why would you pay your mortgage? Your mortgage is at, your mortgage is at 3%. You can put that in the market and gain 9, 10, 11%. So you might as well not pay off your mortgage, or if you pay off your mortgage, then what about what about your taxes at the end of the year? You're not going to have a write up. Listen, listen, listen to me. We listen. We've got to stop with all of that. Financial freedom comes from the elimination of debt and the increase of savings in good investment vehicles. Okay? That's where it comes from. It doesn't come from having debt and cars and houses and stuff. We've tried it that way as a people for too long. It's clearly that's not helping us. And then the last category is thriving. Now these numbers, I mean, now, boy, you just get to do some fun things when you're in this. It's so much fun here, y'all. When we get to, I mean, I don't know, the savings number could be 50%. Your spending is low. You figured out how not to spend as much in a month. And then you're able to give more and more and more. You're able to just hear about a person in your fraternity or in your sorority that just needs some help, and you could just cut them a check, or someone at church just needs some help, and you can just help them out, or the church needs help. You could just help the church out, or whatever the charities are. If there's a charity that's feeding the hungry, or helping the homeless to find shelter, you have money to just give to that now. Or you can start your own foundation. It just gets so much fun, and you're liberated to help others attain this freedom. And that's where Yvonne and I are now, and that's why we're doing this. We want others to experience the freedom of not having to worry about if your bills are going to be paid. And I know you can do it. Since we did it, I know you can. I know you can do it. Okay, so that's the four GSS flight path gauges, if you will. GSS stands for give, save, and spend. Okay? Give, save, spend. That's your GSS. And the reason why you need to know your percentages, because that's going to let you know where you are financially. Are you nosediving financially? Are you just kind of surviving? Or are you arriving or thriving? This is very different. This requires a different strategy, right? Each one of these requires a different strategy. That's why I say it depends. And that's why we're going to deal with these as we go forward. We're going to deal with each of these four categories, and we're going to mostly concentrate on those that are nosediving and those that are surviving, those that need some help. That's where we're gonna focus all of our attention. And just another word about Dave Chappelle. Why did I start? Why did I start with Dave Chappelle? Well, I find that he is very liberated. He talks about things that today in this cancel culture that people don't talk about. And I believe that when you're under bondage, when you're in a situation where you have a bunch of debts and you just have to work, and it causes you to have to work for companies and people that are just sociopaths, just terrible folks. And then it causes you to, now you can't speak out. Now you can't be the Jolly of your tribe. You can't be a truth teller the way Dave Chappelle can. Dave Chappelle used his talents and he parlayed it into wealth. Yvonne and I used our talents and we parlayed it into wealth. I want you to use your talents and parlay it into wealth. And we're here to help you. Why? So that you too, it may not be in a comedy series called The Closer, and it may never be on Netflix like Dave Chappelle. That's okay. It may be on a YouTube channel, or maybe you'll put it in the book, or maybe you'll put it on just talking to others in your family. However, you become the truth teller of your particular tribe. I'm thankful for it because we need more of it. We're getting ravaged. We're getting ravaged by everything, all kind of ilks of society, and I think because we're so beholden to these jobs, because we have the bondage of debt and reckless spending, we just hold our tongue. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. But we're going to work on it. We're going to get there, and we're going to be able to use our talent and use our mouth and use our God-given abilities towards helping ourselves and then helping others towards freedom. How about that? Yeah, I like that too. All right. Thank you, beloveds. More and more to come on this series. We're going to take it step by step in that flight path, step by step, all 10 steps. We're going to finish those steps over the coming weeks. Won't you join us? Thank you so much.